A unified Reich? That's Hitler's language. That's not America's. He cares about holding on to power.
This kind of rhetoric is unsurprising coming from the former president, and it is appalling.
Unsurprisingly, we are back in the confines of the courtroom, where the never-ending drama continues for much longer.
Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 charges of falsifying business records, and his lawyers say there was nothing criminal about the Stormy Daniels deal. More testimony is expected Tuesday, with closing arguments slated for next week, making any verdict unlikely until early June.
Just lately, Trump's defense rested its case after only presenting 2 witnesses.
His testimony was contentious, and the jury had to be cleared from the room at one point.
It appears that Republicans are growing weary of going up against Trump's prosecutors in this setting, where there has been a lot of back and forth.
And we'll be resting pretty quickly. Resting meaning resting the case. I won't be resting. I don't rest.
Donald Trump did not take the stand in his hush money trial as his defense rested.
It was also not reported that Donald Trump testified, which means his American supporters will have to wait longer for the former president to deliver on his promise before the trial started.
Mark, Donald Trump had said repeatedly he planned to testify, but when the time came today, his defense team rested its case. And now, within a week, the jury will begin deciding whether a former president of the United States is guilty or innocent.
Remarkably, it has been acknowledged that the former president had desired to walk the stage, but his defense team is unwilling to take a chance on that happening.
The judge is so biased, so corrupt. He's so corrupt, and he's so conflicted.
As an explosive figure with an unquenchable thirst for controversy, Donald Trump would undoubtedly go off the rails when questioned under oath by prosecutors, adding unneeded details that could further incriminate him in the 34-count felony case.
So you don't call any witnesses. You stand up. This is what I would do. And I immediately say, we rest as well, reminding them that they all gave their oath that they would not shift the burden to the defense, that they would find the defendant not guilty if the charges weren't proven.
Witnesses from the defense side were few and to the point in the recent courtroom battle, with only 2 testifying against 20 from the prosecution. This is par for the course, though, since the defense's job is to cast doubt on the prosecution's case, which relies on a large number of witnesses.
They had all these emails and text messages that the prosecutors did not put into evidence.
It's no surprise that attorney Robert Costello was the primary defendant witness.
I wouldn't have touched a guy like Michael Cohen, especially if he's a convicted perjurer. Not to mention, as I said, the 50 to 100 lies he told us that are in those 330 emails.
Conversations he had with Cohen in 2018 after the FBI raided his home and office were disclosed in the thrilling Manhattan court saga.
With like a big packet of emails. He's like, I got 300 emails. He's bringing props, etc. He says Michael Cohen paid Stormy Daniels with his own money, that Mr. Trump didn't know about it. This is likely a preview of maybe the defense that the Trump team will put up if, in fact, he is in.
The prosecution will only hope that by Tuesday of next week, as the case draws to a close, they will be able to persuade Judge Merchan based on the facts presented in Costello's testimony regarding Cohen's account of what he had told him. At the same time, Trump was ignorant of the $130,000 in hush money paid to Daniels.
During that admonition, the judge got even more incensed. He accused the witness of staring him down and said that at certain points during his testimony he had been rolling his eyes and giving him side-eye. Upset, the judge ordered the courtroom cleared. Officers ushered reporters out into the hallway.
That's not to say there wasn't drama, as Judge Merchan once cleared all members of the public outside the courtroom to question the attorney's competence.
The fact is that the federal prosecutors say that Michael Cohen was directed by the President of the United States. The fact is he signed checks while he was president in 2017 to repay Michael Cohen. That's undisputed.
The Hollywood courtroom drama that has captivated millions in recent days will sadly leave our screens for a week following the most recent meeting on Tuesday.
What else would you call it? It's a legal fee or a legal expense, and we called it a legal expense. This is what the case is about.
The court will not meet for a week, with closing arguments scheduled for next Tuesday. The case is scheduled to be presented to the jury the following day.
They have weaponized this system against their political enemies, and they've started to go down a very dangerous and a very slippery slope. This insanity cannot stand.
Surprise guests include Donald Trump Jr., who was accompanying Eric for the first time. The timing seemed appropriate, as the former president had long required the public backing of his family to help mitigate his public appeal to the American people.
Well, thank you very much. Just to begin, so the news on inflation it really is rampant. It's moving at a level like people have not seen. They don't seem to be able to cut it down. Biden has no control over what's happening.
Former Acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker, former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi, Senator Eric Schmidt, and Representatives Daniel Webster, Dan Muser, Ronnie Jackson, Troy Nehls, Dale Strong, and Maria Salazar were allies who backed Trump. A recurring theme in the Manhattan courtroom case was the frequent exchange of Trump's allies during each proceeding.
But once you get involved and you see the disasters created, especially by this current administration, you understand that you have to fight. You have to leave our country to our children in a way that they can recognize.
Though it hasn't concluded yet, it won't be long before the showdown and outcome of the legal dispute are decided.
What happens after Donald Trump wins? What's next for America?
Former President Donald Trump posting, then removing, a video to his social media site Truth Social, referring to the creation of a unified Reich if he wins a second term.
The central story in today's headlines is a Monday post on Donald Trump's Truth Social media account, which was heavily criticized for making the former president appear more like a German Nazi than a freedom fighter for the United States.
The text unified Reich, a term often associated with Nazi Germany under Adolf Hitler, appears under one headline that reads, "What's next for America?" And again at the end of the video under the text, MAGA.
In a roller coaster post centered on Trump's consequential victory in November and the associated boost in the American economy, the phrase unified Reich appears to trigger perplexity in the minds of all viewers.
This kind of rhetoric is unsurprising coming from the former president, and it is appalling. It shows our freedoms and our very democracy are at stake.
With its origins in the Nazi Third Reich, when the Nazis established to impose stringent laws on the German people between 1933 and 1945, the word didn't seem like a politically safe choice to win over the American public.
A unified Reich? That's Hitler's language. That's not America's.
President Joe Biden, the Democrats, and several partisan groups have since chastised Donald Trump and the Republicans for such a post, which incorporates German words and culture into the American context.
Trump has said if he wins in November, he'd be a dictator on day one only. On Saturday at the NRA convention, he mused about the possibility of staying on for a third term.
It does not appear to be an intelligent move for the former president, who has been accused of having dictatorial ambitions, which he has denied, claiming he would only be one on his first day in office.
But if you look underneath the "What's Next for America" headline, the smaller headline reads, "Industrial strength significantly increased, driven by a creation of a unified Reich."
The 30-second film, which Mr. Trump uploaded on his social media platform Truth Social, includes a number of pieces that are fashioned after newspapers from the early 1900s. It also appears to reuse language from World War I reports referencing peace through strength and German industrial strength.
30-second clip uses a term associated with Germany's Nazi government, referring to the creation of a unified Reich, among fictionalized newspaper headlines covering a Trump victory in November.
In the video, the phrase "the creation of a unified Reich" appeared 3 times. It read, "German industrial strength significantly increased after 1871, driven by the creation of a unified Reich." The text, which includes the phrase "the creation of a unified Reich," is partially visible at the video's opening when an announcer asks, "What's next for America?"
A spokesperson told CNN the Trump campaign did not create the video, and it was, quote, reposted by a staffer who clearly did not see the word.
But in the middle of the disarray, Trump party campaign spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt blamed a staff member for the error, claiming the former president was unaware of the post as he was occupied inside the courtroom.
That was shared on Donald Trump's social media account, predicting, and I'm quoting now, "a unified Reich if Trump returns to the White House.
Despite recent attempts to save the former president from such statements, this is not the first time Trump has displayed such an un-American attitude.
We will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country.
Mr. Trump, whose advisors have been developing plans for a more radical second term than his first, has also faced criticism during his campaign for employing the language of past authoritarian leaders, referring to his political opponents as vermin.
Any Jewish person that votes for a Democrat or votes for Biden.
Undoubtedly, Donald Trump would not wish to lose supporters due to an incident of this nature, particularly Jews, who he has frequently stated should never consider voting for his opponent in the presidential election, and labeling such acts as insanity.
The video was eventually deleted Tuesday morning from the former president's Truth Social account, but not before sparking a backlash led by President Joe Biden's campaign.
After much scrutiny, the post, which had remained unusually long on the media timeline, was eventually removed for everyone's benefit. Could such an action be forgotten so quickly? And could the Republican campaign team's repeated use of the term Reich be a mistake? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Despite the courtroom showdown sadly reaching its climax, we can still be certain that we won't slouch in paying close attention to further developments in the unraveling American political drama. More promises about the Trump case and all the attention-grabbing drama, because we're not going to stop here. This courtroom drama includes more than just a dropped gavel. Stay tuned, we will be back.